Good morning. This is my husband, Joe Fusco, and he is an avid shark tooth hunter. He's going to tell you a little bit about some of the teeth he's picked up on the beach.
Okay, I have some questions that I wrote down that I figured most people would ask. First of all, why is there so many teeth? These are all teeth that I have found, with the exception of one that I bought. But why do sharks lose their teeth? Okay, first of all, as they're biting into their prey, sometimes their teeth break and fall out, and they lose up to 100 teeth a day. So sharks typically have 5 rows of teeth in their mouth, and they could have as many as 3,000 teeth at one time, and they can actually have up to 20,000 teeth in a lifetime. So that's why there's so many shark's teeth in the ocean, and they can be found on the beaches. So a lot of people say, well, where can you find shark's teeth? You can go to the ocean and you can find them on the beach if you go through the shell beds. Anytime you see a shell bed where there's shells and you look real close, a lot of times you can find shark's teeth mixed in with the shells. Sometimes you can find them in the water. If you just look down in the water and you can see a triangular shape and it's dark, most of the time that would be a shark's tooth and you could pick it up. They're also in creeks and rivers, but they're only found really through the east coast of the ocean, from, I would say, New Jersey down through Florida. So along that coast is where you're mostly going to find shark's teeth. People might ask too, why are they black? A lot of the teeth are typically very dark, very black, sometimes gray, sometimes brown. But what it is it has to do with where they sit in the sediment over the millions of years that they're sitting there. And the sediment, based on the minerals in it, is going to determine the color of the tooth. So if you look here, if you want to zoom in closer, I have some 4 tiger shark's teeth. Now you know that these are tiger sharks because of the shape of them. They have a very odd shape. They're serrated on one edge here, a little bit less on that edge, and they have a tooth that kind of points off to one side. That's a tiger shark. And this one is almost white. This one's brown, and this one's kind of a grayish black. So the sediment that they sat in is what determined what color they came out to be. But most of the time you're going to find them black. This one is also a tiger shark tooth, but it's a smaller, thinner tooth, and it's called a posterior, which means it came from the back of the shark's mouth. So these would have come from the front of the shark's mouth, and this one was more towards the back row. So that's why the difference in shape. While we're here, I'll explain. People, ask, how can you tell which sharks they are from? Well, it's because of the shape that you can tell. So here's some of the shapes. This one is called a hemipristis, or also has a common name of snaggletooth. It's named that because it's very sharp and it has serrations. Now this is also from the snaggletooth shark, but this is an upper tooth. I'm sorry, this is the upper tooth and this is a lower tooth. So this came from the upper part of the mouth and this different shape came from the lower part of the mouth. But we can tell by this bump on here that that's the same shark. This hemipristis or snaggletooth is that shape. This one here is more uniform, and this is from a lemon shark. This one looks similar, but it has bigger roots on it, and this is from a mackerel shark. This is a very unusual one. It has several little pointed teeth on here. Not commonly found, but this is from a cow shark. This is from a great white shark. This is from a mako shark. This long one is from a sand tiger, and you can tell that by the little cusps on one side, and it's very narrow. This one's also narrow, but there's no cusps on it, so that means this one came from a goblin shark. And then this is a megalodon shark. A lot of people hear about megalodons. Very old shark. And as a matter of fact, while we're talking about that, I'm going to move on to the different evolutions of sharks. So in other words, the megalodon shark, which this one is, this was about 3 to 15 million years old when it became extinct. So if we find a megalodon shark tooth, we know that this is many millions of years old. This one I happened to buy at a place that was selling shark's teeth. The gentleman found it and he sold this to me. So that's actually the front of the tooth is the flat part and the rounded part is the back of the tooth. A lot of people don't know that. They think this is the front of the tooth because a lot of times when you find them laying on the beach, they're sitting like that, and this looks like the front, but that's actually the back of the tooth, and the flat side is the front. So that's something that most people don't know. This megalodon, like I said, is between like 3 and 15 million years old. There is a much older shark before that. It's called an angustidens. This is an angustiden shark, happens to be broken on one side. This is the blade, this is the root, and in the middle there's something called a burlette, which are on some of the teeth. There's like an in-between space that's called a burlette. But anyway, based on the shape of this and based on the fact that it has a cusp that's really tight to the tooth, you know this is an angustidens, and this is about 30 million years old. That's the range of the angustiden shark. Older than that is called an auriculatus shark. This has a wider root. It also has cusps on it, but the cusps are usually a little bit farther out than the angustiden. And this is about 50 million years old. This is a very, very old shark. So that's the evolution of the shark. There was actually one that was before this, but I don't have an example of it. But this is the auriculatus, this is the angustidens, and this is the megalodon, and those are all millions of years old. One other thing, this is a mako shark, and this is a great white shark. Now they almost look the same, and a lot of people can't tell the difference, but I tell you the difference is the great white has serrated edges. In other words, just like on a butter knife, you have little teeth that cut into your food, and it has serrations. I don't know if you can see that, but there's little tiny serrations along that edge. That means this is from a great white. This mako shark is very smooth, so even though it looks the same as a great white, if it has no serrations at all, it's from a mako shark. A lot of times when you go to a souvenir store, they sell necklaces, and they're a lighter color like this. This is a Moroccan tooth. They're very inexpensive, and they're kind of brittle. They easily break. But a lot of times you see a shark tooth at a store or souvenir shop, this is what you're getting. So it's not quite as nice as the ones that you find here in our country. You can see there's all different sizes, very, very small teeth, medium teeth, and larger teeth. It just depends on, the day that you walk along the beach, and some days you find little ones and some days you find bigger ones. One last thing I want to do is I want to show you how to measure a tooth, because sometimes when you're buying a tooth, it's based on the measurement. You don't measure it from top to bottom, you measure the side. So if you put it against a ruler, this is actually 4 1/4 inches, okay? And it's based on the longest side. So you want to measure both sides. This side is also about 4 1/4. But if you look at a different tooth like this, auriculatus, on one side it's only 2 3/8, and on the other side it is actually 2 3/4, which is longer. So you would go by the longer dimension, which is 2 3/4. So that's a 2 3/4 inch tooth. As far as teeth size, there's a general rule that for every inch of tooth, it's 10 feet of shark. So if this is a 4-inch tooth, you multiply that times 10, this would come from a 40-foot shark, okay? People ask, are teeth worth anything? Yes, they are worth something. Sometimes the little ones aren't worth anything, or very little. But as you get into the bigger teeth, a megalodon like this size might be anywhere from $20 to $25, and you could sell that in a shop. This one here I paid $160 for, but this is actually, there's much more expensive teeth than that. You could pay up to thousands of dollars for really good teeth in great condition. So hope you enjoyed that. There's some information about shark's teeth that maybe you didn't know before. And next time you go to the beach, at the ocean, make sure you take a look through the shell beds and see if you can find some.
Thank you for sharing your hobby with us, Mr. Fusco.